Hey guys, good afternoon. Week 6, right? No, week 5. So next week you guys are ready for the midterm? Is it next week? I'm sorry. This is week 5, isn't it? I keep losing count. Seems like week 5. Is this week 5 or 4? Nice. I think it's got to be 5 because next week must be your midterm. Let me check my calendar.
Yeah, the midterms next week.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys are, feeling good about the midterm. And more people are supposed to join us today. In fact, I think Turkey also said he was going to attend, and then Dean, or was it Arman? Yeah, they wanted to attend too. So we'll give them a little bit of time to join us before you start your updates. But in the meanwhile, I am glad to see your progress and marching forward. And yeah, and like I think Riley said, or someone said recently, maybe Arman or Mitchell, maybe. Yeah, it's good to complete 3 as quickly as possible, because it's relatively easy, and use that as an opportunity to start 4 early. So I think on average 3 and 4 require 1 week each, although 3 may be a lot easier than 4. I think. I don't know. I think that's what the past students have felt. So yeah, that's fantastic. So if you guys have any general questions, then general clarifications that you need about some of the concepts that are still not explained well enough in the modules or in the spec, I'm happy to talk about them. Otherwise, you should just feel free to have a conversation of your own. I know that you're all at various stages of the quest. All of you are making progress, but all are different stages. I know Riley is at quest 4 now, and Xcode stage, quest 4, not yet ready to test it out. Yes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. So Xcode or Windows VS Code, and I know other people have just managed to clear quest 1 of red. Clearing red quest 1 after clearing blue and green is itself a major achievement if you manage to do that by week 3 or 4, because then the end of 2C is within sight. By what I mean by saying end of 2C is that I think there's a very good chance that you'll at least pass the class, because quest 6, if you manage to reach quest 6, you pass anyway, right? So already, if you've got only 4 more quests to do, and 5 more, you've finished 1 and you've only got 5 more, and then you have 6 weeks to do it, easily possible, right? Because you're at week 6 and you got 5 more quests, and it's not the really hard quest from later. So easily, definitely the end is in sight. A favorable end is in sight if you've managed to finish Q1 by now. So that's fantastic. And obviously that shouldn't stop you. Nobody should aim to just pass. I think everybody should just march as fast as you can, and save up all of the time that you would get by doing other things, social stuff, playing video games and things like that. Just save it up for summer. That way, I think it'll be a much better swap of your items in your schedule, because I think it'll be I think it'll be very nice if you finish all of the quests. I'm actually thinking, I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe I'll talk about it later if I didn't think more. But certainly, yeah, feel free to have a conversation of your own, right? I shouldn't be the only guy talking. And if you like, I can just turn the laptop around as usual for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I can come back, and then we can have a chat after 10 minutes. Until then, you guys want to just converse amongst yourself, just updating each other, that's fine. And then later on, maybe you don't even need to do a round robin update like we usually do. right? I can just listen to the conversation, and then, and anyone who comes into the conversation or the YouTube video can just listen to the conversation, right? It shouldn't be like what do they call it in companies? Circle of shame. I don't know. All the junior engineers who will call it the circle of shame. But daily stand-up. Okay. All right. So it's called a daily stand-up. Sometimes managers will misuse the daily stand-up to not just get an update of what's been going on so they can find a good strategy for moving forward, but they'll just use it as a circle of shame so that you put everyone on the spot and ask them to say what they've been doing or accomplished in the previous day. That really is, is a sure sign to me that the company is going to start going downhill, or that project is going to start going downhill from now, because all of the people are not working on it for the sake of finding something cool about the project. They're just working on it now to save their own asses, right? Because they need to know that if I don't go and report something new tomorrow, I'm going to be embarrassed in front of everybody, so I need to do something. And so I found in my experience that kind of thing never works. So I'm actually glad to transition out of it for our class as soon as possible. I just wanted to use it initially just to break the ice and get the ball rolling. But ideally, group meetings, especially after you get into exec level and senior levels in the companies, you don't have you don't have the circle of shame meetings anymore, right? People just huddle together in a corner or get together in a boardroom and basically say, well, you know what, we tried to do this, and let's take a check to see where we're at, right? And different people will say, yeah, okay, well, maybe that can my place can work faster if I get a bit more resources here. Right. And then they basically just around, because they also have access to resources, they can shuffle things around and they can go back and the project will work smoothly. Right. So at senior levels, you'll find that you won't have that, daily stand-up kind of meetings, even at, weekly. But it'll be more like collaborative. And I would be very happy to see our own weekly meetings progress into something like that, so that we don't do this round robin and you're not beholden to me, because that is not the truth at all. If you think about it, you can basically tell me to fuck off when I come here, right? I'm not going to, because I'm just going to grade you on what you've done, right? I'm not going to penalize you for doing something like that. You can still say, I, met all the requirements. I'm going to pass or get an A+ or whatever it is, and I'll be beholden to you, right? So I'll be giving it to you. So you're not doing it for me. And so if any illusion that I create that you're doing it for me, I'm going to police this, I'm going to watch you guys and wrap your knuckles if you don't do well, that's all stupid bullshit. So it doesn't happen, and that's not the truth. So the way this should really happen is that you guys are now engaged enough in the subject to actually start updating each other, saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, can you help me here, I want to discover this. That would be far more interesting and engaging. And later on, who knows, right? If you have a really, really cool discussion, you just clip it out of YouTube and post it, right? Post it. And maybe that would be a fantastic tech talk show, right? Instead of one person, think about it. Most of the videos that you go and look for, I want to try and find out how breadth first search works, or pivoting works in Quickstart. And you have, most of the time you get one person coming and describing this with analogies and, crazy things. But how much cooler it would be if 6 students had a roundtable virtual discussion, like a talk show. And, you can have any number of students, because we're not bound by physical presence. You don't need a studio or anything now. You can create a top class video talk show, a technical talk show, just, intelligent people getting together and talking about an interesting problem or one or more interesting problems, right? And then maybe clip out of it and share it and say, we want to learn about Quickstart. Here's, 6 really cool, brilliant people talking about it. Just watch it and that's enough. You don't have to watch any, lame ass videos on YouTube. How about that, right? So that'd be really cool. So hopefully by the time you get to quiz 7, you're going to be doing that, right? Because Quicksort, even though everybody likes to use it, is actually, I find, the most difficult subject for students to learn. It's not even MaxFlow, believe me, right? It's not MaxFlow. It's not Dijkstra's algorithms or, shortest path, minimum spanning trees. No, Quicksort turns out to be the hardest and also the simplest of all of the algorithms that students have to master, because that is the one they have have to do a complete switch from what they're used to saying, well, this is what computer science is. I don't have to oversolve, right? Most of the time, that is the heart of computer science. With Quicksort, the algorithm that you have to implement with my, Quest anyway, is because you basically stop as soon as you know, you don't need to do any work, right? But most students instinctively would do what they think QuickStart should do, which is not stop after they know that they should stop. They maybe do, one more step. Even that one more step will make a huge difference when you're sorting like a billion element array, right? So because it's in a tight loop that's executed many times recursively and so on. So that kind of thing is hard to understand and get your mind around. Because other things like minimum spanning trees or finding the shortest path is all pretty straightforward, right? People may say a lot about Dijkstra's algorithm being hard to understand. No, it's the most intuitive thing anyone would do. If if you're going to another country or another city from here and you have multiple roads to travel and you have a map in front of you, you're basically if you do it intuitively and sensibly, you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're always going to go to the nearest thing you can find out, and then from there to the nearest thing, as long as it gets you closer, or search your search. So you'll always go along the sure paths you can identify, not leave out anything uncertain. And so that's the intuitive thing to do. But some algorithms like Quicksort, you may actually end up doing something that's intuitive, but it's inefficient. So that's why I think that's the harder one. And hopefully you guys can talk about it and turn that into a bullet, right? We can have tons and tons of bullets like that. Not bullets meaning what do you call it? Bullet, a clip, right? Like a 5-minute YouTube clip or a 10-minute YouTube clip that talks about something really, really interesting in computer science with 6 or 7 cool interesting people like you. That's all. Okay. And so then you can just create maybe use our channel to launch it, and then maybe you can just create your own channels. Right? And lots of clips like that. And then people come there. I can help you set it up later on if you want, right? Come there and search and say, I want to look for interesting ways of finding, connected components in a graph, right? And then there's, like 5 videos that come up from 5 or 4 quarters and say, hey, this is a discussion about that, right? You can do semantic analysis too, right? And you transcribe the text and you can find out. You can identify chunks and say, this is where these are things that you can watch, right? You can even generate clips automatically, depending on, chunks you learn to identify. So those are all cool things that you can do, right? And I can absolutely, totally help you out with all of those, right? Even beyond CS2C, right? If anyone who's managed to get all the way past Quest 9, if they have a project and they need some help, and I'm able to help, I'm more than happy to help out, right? Even after long past my students. So there you go. So you guys want to have a chat? I can just turn my laptop around, have a chat, and then at the end, you can just say, well, let's not just do an update. Everything was covered in the video, and that's fine, right? We'll just call it a day at that time, and I'll post it, and then I can watch it later. But I'll listen to you anyway. I'm not wearing my AirPods, but I will, because you're connected to my Google thing. So so I'll just listen to what you guys are talking about, and that will hopefully give me a good update. I already know, right? I already know where each of you is in your questing journey, and how much work you've done, how many times you've submitted, and how the little progresses you've made. I know all of that. But hopefully it'll be useful for the ones who are not here, okay? And they can watch this video and say, hey, you know what? Well, if I'm stuck in Quest 4, maybe I can post something and I can tag Riley to, right? And say, hey, you've been working on it for a couple of days more. Did you run into this problem? And things like that. So they can listen to this and say, reach out to these people, hopefully not offline, okay? Because, having the discussion on Reddit again helps you get points and all. So hopefully people will watch the video and say, hey, I watched you talk about this. Can you help me? And post, right? And then the tag, because I know many of you are busy people also and have a life and all that, lots of things are happening. So may not always listen to posts that are coming in on Reddit and may not get notifications. But if someone tags you, I'm pretty sure, right? Maybe someone's at work and they get a bing and say, hey, you know what? Turkey posted a question about Quest 3, and since you've done it, can you help them out? And so on. Or, likewise, can you help me out and so on. Okay, so that'll be really cool. If that's okay with you and you don't have any more questions for me, I can turn it around. So, currently I only see Walter, Tony, Riley, Turkey, and Sun, but a few other people, said they will join. And so hopefully they will join by the time you're join your conversation, essentially, right? Or they'll watch the video and post updates. Is that okay with you? Do you guys have any questions for me to answer? Anything? You can always call me too, right? So I'm just listening to you. So if you have a question, you can just say, "Hey, Anand, can you come back here? We have a question for you." Right? I'm just here. I'll just come back and talk. Is that okay?
I actually have a question, Professor.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Just a quick question concerning the midterm, just to get it out of the way. So in the previous class, it was more surrounding, the language itself, and now we're sort of moving into algorithms, all that. Will it still be a similar midterm, or will it be more concerning the algorithms and all that?
Yes. The midterm will be algorithms, right? It's because 2A, control structures, 2B, spatial structures, 2C is what you do with those two. So that's, I'm very pleased with myself for coming up with that. But, it's some more variation of what I've said before, I'm sure. But so I think that for the midterm, you can expect that questions will be about big O notation, complexities, cubic versus n log n and squared log n, which is faster, and why. Maybe I don't know. Can I put it in? I don't know if I can make an objective question out of it, saying why the constant term or lower order terms are not important. Like, for example, I can have an algorithm that is n cubed plus 51 n squared in terms of n, the number of items, and I can have another algorithm that is n squared plus 1005 x or something like that, right? I don't know, maybe it's a bad analogy. Oh yeah, maybe I can do that. I can in the objective style, I can give a bunch of algorithms like that. And yeah, it's basically just coming to practice with the fact that you can toss all the lower order terms. It's only the higher order term that actually matters. Because, graphically, if you plot it, the higher order term will at some point overtake a lower order term. Any kind of polynomial, right? It doesn't have to be linear or constant, x to the 0, x to the 1, or x can be x to the n, right? In fact, can it work? Does it work with x? Yeah, I think it has to work with x to the n, fractional n too, right? Because they're all monotonically ascending functions, and the derivative is a slope, and the slope has got to be a line whose slope will have to, it can be parallel. It has to be like this, right? So it has to cut at some point. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I think it basically for x to the n, where n is a fractional power 2, it works. So so essentially what we're saying is that if we just toss all the lower order terms, even if it's fractionally low order, we can prove that at some finite point in the future, this function will overtake that, right? But depending on a constant time, that finite time may either occur like 5 or 10 elements down the line itself, like, parabolic versus linear. You see, quadratic functions actually are slower than linear functions initially. Quadratic, right? So a linear function is actually quadratic function takes, a linear function is slower, right? A quadratic function is faster initially than a linear function, because here it takes less time. But once it cuts, it's that one is much slower than this, and it grows really fast, right? It's a quadratic function. Where was I going with that? So I think that if you just have the higher order terms only, no matter, that's right. So with a linear and a quadratic, the place at which the overtake happens is very close, and so is very close to where you started with a low number of items. That's why when you right, and however, it's possible to have algorithms that have a huge constant cost associated with it. Even though it's an efficient algorithm, there's a huge overhead associated with it. So you have a plus k, or k is a big number, right? Then it doesn't make sense to switch from the slower algorithm to the faster algorithm until you hit k. Yes, because until that point, even though you are using a linear algorithm, it's going to be slower than the quadratic algorithm, or n log n. So those are the compromises that kinds of intuitions that will start bubbling up. And in fact, that is one of the intuitions, I think, behind even the design of the practical quicksort. The quicksort that we use in libraries out there is not a pure quicksort. A pure quicksort, I'll quicksort everything you give me, right down to one element. But the library version of quicksort doesn't do up to one element. it actually does quicksort until about some threshold n elements, where n is determined based on the library and some internal parameters of the CPU and how fast things calculate. So it may be that until n, until you have up to n elements to sort, it'll use quicksort, which is n log n on average. But the moment you have fewer than n elements, it's actually going to use insertion sort, which is provably quadratic. Right? Or, or shell sort, which is basically between insertion sort, has a fractional power between insertion sort and, n log n, right? So it could say, at that point I'll switch and I'll use a quadratic algorithm. And that's the practical version, the real version of quicksort. And so how do people make those decisions? And that's an engineering decision at the end of it, right? So then I just told those CS2A students too. Again, see, that is a scientific engineering decision, not a logical mathematical decision, right? So the mathematical purity-wise, purity of science, or saying no empirical matters, we're only dealing with ideas and things that we know for absolute certainty, right? Then we say, I have to use quicksort all the way, right? But we say, well, no, we're going to temper it with reality here, right? So we're going to adjust the purity of pure logic to suit human life. Then we say, okay, I'm going to make some compromises and not do the best thing. From here to here, I'm going to do the suboptimal thing because that makes our lives easier. So we're here in the realm of empirical science, like machine learning and data engineering, right? Empirical, ruled by the world, right? Beyond that is pure science, mathematical, logical. So yeah, I shouldn't be talking about quicksort when you're, it's only week 7 really that you guys have, I think, in the schedule. Sorting techniques is in week 7, right? I think I hope we'll have lots and lots of interesting discussions when it comes to sorting, because sorting really is, I think, in many ways the heart of computer science, right? There's so many things sorting touches upon, and so many ways in which you can improve things, that it gives you a really, really solid intuition about how computer science in general works, right? So the iterative process and what we're looking for, and the beauty of an algorithmic solution at all. Because an algorithmic solution has a different kind of aesthetics to it than a mathematical solution, right? So, if you look at the proof that, the De Moivre's proof that e to the I pi equals -1, right? So it's a remarkable equation. But you can actually prove it using, whatever, what is it? Cos theta plus I sine theta, cos I theta or something like that. So yeah, all right. So you can prove it using, and you can, but this has a different kind of elegance. And you will see that, by playing with sort, just by playing with sort. And that is why I encourage all my students to not just play with the existing algorithms out there, right? Because that won't let you appreciate the beauty of the technique. You'll just remember lots of things. But if you actually try and implement these and say, well, this is a problem I'm going to start solving from scratch, right? And then use all the examples out there, not as instructive examples, but rather as examples of how people have solved the same problem. And then you can say, well, I've done it. Is it as good as that? Right? So you can start polishing it up. And eventually, maybe your solution will be exactly the same as that, except that it's something that you came up with. And that's why I don't like the way that many of the computer science classes are taught. I don't know, maybe at Foothill or elsewhere in the world also, but they're also prescriptive to say, this is how you do it. Learn it and do it, right? No, you don't learn art by basically trying to say, well, here's Picasso, here are all these sculptures from ancient monuments, do exactly the same, right? You only do that for practice initially. Right. Eventually, the goal is to try and express your own thinking using this technique that you've learned. And you never learn that only by practicing to copy all the time. And unfortunately, credit is being given in classes for just blind copying. And that is no use. It's not going to set you up for success in life. You can just go around saying, well, I got a qualification in computer science. But who cares, really? Right? Any self-respecting company today is not going to hire you just because you got a certificate from Stanford or some top ranking school. They're just still going to find out, right? But you're going to talk to people who worked with you, and if they're not sure, they'll try and probe how your problem solving skills. It doesn't matter if you're a self-taught programmer at home, or you went to some top ranking school. If you can solve the problem and demonstrate your intelligence, that's all people are looking for. And most of the people that I find who have a tough time in interviews are people who are very good at regurgitating existing algorithms, right? So they know how to solve a problem if it fits into an existing framework. So if you ask them, how do you solve, this particular traversal problem? They'll say, yeah, okay, I can do this. But that's not what companies are looking for. Okay, that's why just memorizing lots and lots of things will not get anyone anywhere. Just like in math, you can do lots of proof, but if you can't prove a proof on your own, then you can't call yourself a mathematician. So I think what I would like is for basically by the end of CS2D for all of you to just develop a taste and use this as practice, this whole class as practice, not to practice to develop a taste. Meaning that I know once upon a time I knew a new person who said who didn't like blue cheese. Blue cheese or stinky tofu or one of those things. And I said, no, you should really try it because it's very tasty. I don't know, they had a very intelligent response to that I've forgotten. But basically, yeah, it's I'm giving it to you to taste it. Yeah, so taste it and see if you don't like it. So if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. But I'm pretty sure you'll like it. So just use this as an opportunity as a taster. Like you go to Tivana and you taste all these different teas, right? So here you come to CS2C and taste all these different algorithms and say, hey, yeah, you know what? I really love this. I'm going to stay here for a lot longer. Okay, and so that's the sentiment that every one of you should go away with. Okay, so thank you all. I still want to continue to have all these meetings. Okay, even though we're going to turn this away from being, a forced update of every single person, I'd like to have you guys converse amongst yourself for at least a half hour, 15 minutes to a half hour. Okay, just talk, no silence. Okay, and you can mark yourself. If there is silence, one of you should just break it and say, hey guys, silence, does anybody want to say something? Okay, just an icebreaker. So at least a half hour, get it going with at least a half hour, and hopefully we'll have 5 more of these meetings. And by the time we're in the 5th meeting, maybe your 5th meeting, that conversation, that half hour 5th meeting conversation is just going to be a huge viral YouTube hit. Who knows? Okay, so so use this as a practice to getting there. Any other questions, or can I just turn this around? And Sam, Walter, you asked me an innocent question about sorting or the midterm, and I just seized that opportunity to please prevent me from doing these things in future, because this time really is yours. And I know that some of you are actually making hard time to get to these meetings. Okay, so please get into talking on your own, because that's the content we want to encourage. Okay, we want to have lots and lots of things like that. And I'll just give you the MP4 file, right? You can upload it to, you can style it however you want, start your own channels, right? And start posting it there. Perfectly fine with me. Until then, I can host it on nonlinear media too, right? The only thing is when I upload it to YouTube, I delete my own MP4 file. But you can always download it from YouTube, I think. So, all right. So feel free to do all those things. All right. So is that okay? Can I just turn the laptop around? You can just talk. Yeah? All right, thank you. So just call me, okay? Call me if you have any questions. Oh, is it being recorded? Yeah.
I don't have any questions right now. I'm on quest 3 in the middle of it, but if anyone has, I'm done with quest 2, so if anyone has any questions about that, I would love to help. But I'm pretty sure all of you are past that. I know Sung is on quest 3, I think.
Yeah, I'm still at
Yeah,
1. I think stuck in a memory override, but I'm gonna fix it. It's just gonna be
actually, I saw your post on Reddit, and then like that was literally what drove me to finish Quest 2 on Thursday.
Yeah, I read your reply. I'm glad I was able to help with that, because the reason I posted it is just because I was I was sitting on quest 2 dealing with corner cases for the slice function, and I remember I got so upset at myself because I kept on trying to have all these like numbers and indices in my head, and then I just wrote it down, and it was so much easier. So I just figured more people would probably have the same experience.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, and then like I made a really stupid mistake with the matrix like initialization. I just initialized it with R1 and R2, and then like I know like that is wrong, Like I just had it like that, and I just never realized that was the problem that I had for
It's
like
fun.
I think it was like 2 hours straight.
It's funny you say that. I basically had the same thing. I think I was doing like R1 minus R2 when I was supposed to be doing the opposite. I was just I was working on a matrix that was completely wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I just kept on like trying to figure out. I just kept on trying to see like everywhere else except for the actual problem. Then yeah.
Does anyone go to the meetings with the computer science club? Like on Fridays?
Personally, I've not gone to the meetings. I know I'm in the Discord, but I've not made a meeting yet now.
Is there like any competition upcoming? I mean, last semester they were like thinking going against Stanford in this competition. I don't know what happens. And I wonder if they have another one this semester because that would be cool to be part of.
I wonder if they have they might have announcements here. Let's see.
I mean, last meeting I went to, they ended up just like chatting about other classes, math
I
and physics. I'm
see.
like, okay, well,
Let me see. Saturday, May 7th, STEMathon. That's the first thing I see. That might be something. It's in the announcements on that. I think it's for the College Science Learning Institute and the STEM Impact Team. That's who are holding an event. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't followed the events too closely.
I know Jason's big into that. I don't know if you message him on Reddit. He probably know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually hoping Jason would join the meeting because I know he was stuck on a specific problem for a while, and I'm not sure if he's gone past it or not.
I think I remember
Oh.
seeing him post like
Oh,
early
yeah.
on in the quarter where he said like he couldn't join the meetings because he had like class at this time, another class at this time or something.
Yeah, he actually posted 2 hours ago saying he finished quest 1, so he must have got past it. So
Have you guys been to the data science and AI club meeting?
what was
personally, no.
that? The one, was that the one last week?
I think it's held every Friday morning. I don't have a chance to go, so I was wondering what it's like or what they're working on.
I mean, they should provide reporting for these kind of stuff sometimes, but I'm pretty sure. I mean,
think
I
they
have
meet
nothing on
in
Friday,
person.
so I'll try to get it.
Oh,
I'll keep you updated. I'll just go this Friday. Is it like in person and well?
yeah, I think so. Yeah. Thanks.
Just out of curiosity, is quest 4 building on the matrix, the matrices as well, or is it a different topic?
As far as I could tell so far, it's just dealing with binary trees, one regular one, and then one with lazy deletion.
Okay, gotcha.
It does have it seems like there's a lot to it. So it definitely as soon as you can start it, it's probably best to once you get through whichever quest you guys are on next.
Yeah, quest 3 seems relatively easy. I've done the matrix aspect of it. I just needed the sparse at a midterm last week, so bit busy, but hopefully I can get it done either today or tomorrow and then get started. Yeah, it said somewhere in the questing site or the spec, I believe, that quest 4 was one of the quests with a lot of rewards. So I'm guessing it's definitely an important one. I think if there's no more questions, I might just go ahead and get started on quest 3. It seems like we're all just kind of working on our own.
I agree.
Hey, Professor, I think we're done.
We're done? Okay, cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you all so much for your updates. And
Actually,
yeah.
I have a question for the professor. Have you heard like any code and hackathons or competitions going on that maybe like the computer science club or other members
I
of the
don't
class can
personally, I don't personally have any of those contests going on. I'm sure Jason and the CS club, like Walter was talking about, they're running these contests all the time. And in fact, even Google is running all contests all the time. Yeah, my son found something. It's not published, I think, but there's something there. I can ask him and find out. But there was something he discovered, or maybe his friend told him. Something you type into the Google bar or something, and then you get a whole bunch of problems you can solve one after another, or maybe in the Chrome console or something like that. So lead code, yeah, take lead code. And the way you should do it is don't look for these formal competitions, okay? This is formal competitions, if they're organized by a club like CS Club or things like that. Yeah, okay, maybe you get, hackathon days and free pizza and things like that. But then it comes with the time pressure and saying, I got to cut corners to solve these problems and so on. You won't be able to die. You'll be able to enjoy the pizza, but not the problem. So you can sink your teeth into the pizza, but not into the problem. So I think to really benefit from any of these problems, what you should, my suggestion is that you guys should just get into a group, right? 5 groups, and you're going to pose a problem to yourself, and it's going to be some problem you all agree upon on leak code. And so because there's, or Euler.com or something like that. Yes, there's so many problems out there. Programming type problems. Just so go browsing and say, well, you know what, this problem, let's start working on it on Monday, right? And fix 6 of us, 7 of us, 30 of you, whatever, right? So and then maybe people gamble saying, poker. When I used to play poker, it's $1 in the kitty, and then everybody wins in the end or something like that. You say, all right, so let's have a contest in our group of 30 people, $5 in the kitty, and then the collection will be divided into 3 prices. And here is a problem we will all choose by voting, right? Or by consensus or something like that. And then the first person to solve, the second person to solve, third person to solve. You can organize these interesting things yourself. You don't need a club, because clubs usually, what I find during, I think I told my son this when he entered college, because this was something I was, when I was a student, I made the mistake of joining too many clubs, or as many clubs as possible. And then fortunately, before it was too late, I realized that it was basically social time only, mostly it was just social time. And because it wasn't really instructive or learning or personal development time. And so social time, the reason I said that is because social time is cheap. Yes, social time is really cheap, isn't it? Because if you don't have anything to do, you can go out there, have a drink with your friends. So it's really cheap. You can get it anytime you want. As long as you're not a unsociable person, you can get social time anytime you want, right? You have people around you who want to spend time with you. So it's really cheap. But time at an educational institution, access to experts is definitely more expensive than that. Maybe it's not so expensive, like for $40,000 a year, but still it is more expensive than that. because you're paying $200, or you only have access to these experts or teachers willing to teach you things for this time. So there is a premium on this. So now faced with two choices, one of them is so valuable, another one is, a different value. What would a sensible, intelligent person pick? For the 3 months that I actually have access to this buffet, I'm going to eat from the buffet, right? After those 3 months, I'll go back to eating corn, right? But for the 3 months that I've paid for, I'm going to have access to this. And so I say this because I think you mentioned Turkey, that a couple of clubs in your conversations. It's cool, but I think as young students shouldn't fall into the trap that I did when I was your age, which is to just sign up to these clubs, because clubs not only give you social time, but they will also give you lots of responsibilities that are irrelevant to your progress or humanity's progress. Because those are all tasks that will happen inconsequential. It'll evaporate in a couple of months. Whether you did it or not doesn't make any difference. It makes a difference if you look at it so closely, but after a while, it makes no difference at all. Even if you hadn't done it, humanity wouldn't be worse off. So you won't be able to see it in that perspective. However, when you're immersed in the club, you're very close, you'll be doing a lot of work that is totally unnecessary and unuseful to your life or anybody else's life. In the end, doesn't actually improve much, right? But you will be spending a lot of time doing those things and thinking that you're doing something useful because you're getting a social reward for it, right? People will praise you, and you get lots of things, but all of that praise will evaporate in a few years if you don't have achievements to back it up, right? What's the point of being a high-achieving president of a local computer science club if you are basically been programming in your garage and nobody wants you to buy a product for 50 years? So, and the point is, nobody was less brilliant than another, but one person was unfortunately less wise when it came to investment, right? This is the Warren Buffets of investment, who know where to put their money. And the other people who, no matter, even if they win a lottery, they're going to blow it on a Ferrari and they run into the ground. So it's just a question of how you invest the resources you have. And right now, as a paying student, this is your best investment and resource you have, is to basically greedily lap up every single minute you get of people that are willing to give you knowledge. And so clubs will basically take up a lot of your time. So it's okay to be a part of clubs, but always be mindful that the point in being in any club is for self-improvement. So as long as you're improving yourself or actually improving the lot of humanity around you, and that gives you an inner satisfaction, that's okay. Right? But just doing things for, I belong to this club, that is totally useless. Okay. And who knows, maybe 10 years down the line, that's a club that people will say, I didn't belong to that club. Right? So you don't want to say, I was a president of club. Okay. So who knows? So all of those things should factor into student decisions, which didn't when I was your age, but so you can keep that in mind when you make these decisions. And hopefully the maximum amount of time you will put forth for the remaining 6 weeks of this class, 7 weeks, is towards programming, computer science, learning its ins and outs, learning to be the computer, right? Thinking like a computer, and saying, well, I can't think like a human now. I have to attack this problem only this way. If I was human, I would have attacked it that way, by applying a theory and then verifying that theory. But however, as a computer, I can't come up with these theories. So I just have to solve the task that is given to me, and this is the task I've, so how do I solve that? So learn to think like that, basically giving up your human freedom, isn't it? Because when people have freedom, people have tools in front of them, they're going to intuitively use that all the time, right? Because that's our nature. Things simplify things, our lives will use it. But solving a program is basically painting yourself into a corner, saying, how would I solve this problem if I did not have my human intelligence? Right? Something that you have been used to since your birth. You have been used and trained to believe that you're an intelligent, thinking, rational person. And so, but then you want to devise a way in which I can solve a real problem without bringing my human intelligence to bear. How would you do that? So that is learning to think like a computer. So that can work even when there is no intelligence behind it guiding its way. And getting to think like that, it takes a lot of just marinating in the sauce. So that would be my recommendation. Absolutely join clubs, but this should be your foremost thing in your mind. Don't waste your time doing things that are actually dead end and don't take you anywhere. But absolutely do go to them if you have interesting talks, things you want to share, or things you want to learn from other people that are talking there, and that's all fine. But don't waste a lot of time building, projects that are not instructive to you, or take away. If the same project can be done later on in your own time, or after 3 months, when it just eats into your social time, that's fine. But don't let it eat into time that you're actually paying something for that is more valuable. All right, that's my 2 cents. Whether you take it or not, thank you all for coming to class, and keep up your progress. Keep blowing ahead, okay? And it's an important class, and you will be very, very happy. Yeah. All right. Thank you all, and I'll see you all next week. And I'm obviously seeing you all the time on Reddit. So just keep up the updates. Keep talking to each other on Reddit, and also encourage all these other people to work. So surprisingly, 2 of you came up with very, very interesting typos that I thought the red ones were bulletproof now, but Riley pointed out this public versus private thing. No, 3 of you. Jason pointed out something. I don't know, he pointed out something I forgot. And then Mitchell actually ran into an error, which strangely enough pointed to a testing gap in resize in Stilt. So resize could not be done in a certain way, which I wasn't checking for before. And fortunately, thanks to Mitchell, if you're watching this, Mitchell, thank you. So I actually fixed that now. So that's all really cool. All right, then thank you all for making my day again. I'll see you next Tuesday, and keep up with you guys on the Reddit. All right, bye.
Thank you.